Good morning. Morning, everybody. Hi, I'm Andrew
Good
Hockraddle,
morning. I'm Nick Longo.
and we're just waking up.
Yes.
I didn't do my vocal warm-ups before the show, and it shows. So, hi, everyone. Hello, chat. Say hi. You're over there. Nice to see you. We have some friends watching from the UK. Great to see you there as well. Nick, what's the show? What are we doing? Who are these people? What's going on here? Where are we? What year is it? Please help me.
2024. I believe we're still in the month of August, and this is office hours, and we meet here every Monday morning at 9 p.m. Pacific time.
9 a.m. Pacific time.
What did I say? PM?
PM.
See, we are the perfect people for the morning show, aren't
Honestly,
we? I mean,
a 9 p.m. show would be great. So we are office hours, like Nick said. We always are here to help you level up your creative careers. If you have questions, please put them in chat. If you have comments, please put them in chat. And if you want to be a part of our Discord community, you can do that, discord.gg/ACC. That is the place that we are. This is what our Discord looks like. These are some screenshots from last week. If you want some hot tips for Illustrator, guess what? We have that for you last week. So if you missed it, go back and watch that episode. But you can go to discord.gg/ACC, and that is where you can get involved, where you can ask questions, and you can interact with the rest of our community. And Nick, what are we going to be talking about today? Last week we did the beginner's Illustrator. Where are we going next?
It only makes sense to do something that I am perfectly ready to learn from, and that's 101 Photoshop. So kind of beginner 101 Photoshop for everybody.
Yes, nice to see you. And hello, Renee is here over in the YouTube chat. I am watching YouTube chat as well as the Behance chat. Chat, say hi. Chat, say hi. Double chats. So you're both here. We are going back and forth on there. So thanks so much for watching. Let's hop in and talk a little bit about Photoshop. Now, we do have a plan for this show of what we want to talk about, but just barely, but we do. There is a plan. But if you have questions, if you have suggestions, if you want to know something about Photoshop, we will pause that. We will stop that. This is a live stream, and being live means that you can interact with us live, and we will share our knowledge with you. So if you have questions, please always ask your questions. We will stop what we're doing, answer your questions. And just for reference, Nick is over here. You are right there. And chat, you're hanging out over there. So if you see me looking all over the place, chat, us, Nick. So
let's do it.
Yes,
Can you send the monitor really quick when you get a chance?
Nick needs to see the show.
I need to see the show.
Chat, you guys can vote. Does Nick get to see the show today? Does Nick get to see what's happening on the show? Or is it going to be just us together here? All right, let me get Nick on the stream here. There we go. Okay, Nick can see the show. Hey, Felicia, nice to see you. Hello, Felicia. I definitely still owe you an email. All right, let's go ahead and hop in here to the wonderful, wonderful world, not yet, of Photoshop, because I need to open something. If you don't have Photoshop, if you don't know how to download Photoshop, guess what? You can do it so easily.
Where would you go?
Creative Cloud desktop app. You can go to your Creative Cloud desktop app, and there's a ton of resources here. And chat, I'm gonna give you a little inside scoop. Little inside scoop. Little scoop.
Don't tell anybody.
A little scoop. What we're gonna do? Gosh, please don't clip that. What we're gonna do is we are going to go over here to apps on the Creative Cloud desktop app. Then we're gonna go all the way over to beta, and here, all the betas. Look at this. I have a Photoshop beta available to me. It allows me to try the new generative features in Adobe Firefly model in Photoshop. I need to update. So use the beta. Love Photoshop. Big fan of Photoshop. Just use the beta. I pretty much only use the beta because it has all the most up-to-date features in it. And even some stuff that I can try out and play around with. But you can go to beta and you can do that. Look at all this stuff right here that is available to you. And if you're ever wondering what's Adobe working on, go to beta because you can see here InDesign effortlessly convert PDFs to InDesign files. Simply open PDF in InDesign to get started. That's a pretty cool feature I haven't heard about.
Right.
It's here, right here in your beta, and you can access that right here. It's all for you.
I like that you said you're that confident in using Photoshop beta as your Photoshop. That's
100%.
That's how solid it is. And again, you're getting to see a lot of those great new features right off the bat. It's great.
Yep. All right, chat, here you go.
Cool.
Here is the screenshot for you. Let me move the contextual toolbar. Boom. All right, here's a screenshot for you, chat. take a screenshot. And this is your guide to Adobe Photoshop if you're getting started as a beginner. We're going to do like a little round robin and kind of go around the screen here. If your screen looks different than mine, you can go to Window. You can go to Workspace and click on Essentials. And that's what I'm working on, working with Essentials. You also could do Core Tools, and there are some different workspaces here, but I like to use Essentials. And let's start over here on the left. So on the left, these are all of our tools. If at any point you need to do something to an image or edit a photo, you're probably going to be using one of these tools over here. Now, Nick, some of these tools have a little arrow in the corner next to them. What does that mean? If there's a little arrow,
could basically open it up to other options that are grouped together with that tool.
Yep. So what you can do is you can simply click on that to select the tool, or you can click and hold, and that is going to open up the box for all of the different options there. So we have a lot of selections, and I think that Photoshop's really like in a couple different things. There's selections, there are adjustments, there is typography, and then maybe there's like lighting is what I'd put is like some
dodge
big
and burn,
buckets,
things like that.
Yeah. So we're gonna kind of go no banana tool. Chat, you are so right. I need to fix it. Chat, how do you do it? It is Shift Enter. Chat, how do you do this? How do you do it? Oh, how do you do it? Hold on. Nick, there is a way.
Is it a little Easter egg?
It's an Easter egg.
Yes.
Shift done. There it is, banana tool. So chat, you are about to get the inside scoop right now. If you want to add a banana to your Photoshop, all you need to do is click and hold on Edit Toolbar right here.
There we go.
You're going to open up the toolbar.
Yeah.
Then you're going to hold the Shift key. You're going to hold the Shift key and click Done. Banana.
No way.
Banana. Nick has the banana.
I love it. Hey,
banana. So yes.
So what does it do?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
It goes away the minute you click on it, right?
Yep. Just sits in your toolbar. So a little Easter egg there. Jesus Ramirez taught me that one. Thanks, Jesus. And I do believe you can also get a purple banana. I don't know how to do that. I know that there's another version that is a little secret, but there you go. Banana in Photoshop. So these are all your tools over here. Down here is the fill and the stroke. So a fill, Nick, let's do this quiz style. What's a fill?
Fill is everything within like an area. What is it filled with?
Yep. So everything inside an area. And what is a stroke?
Yep. That is your outside edge and how you apply anything to it. Thickness, maybe it's a filter, maybe it's something unique and cool. Yes.
Yeah, so this here is our artboard, and this is kind of the working area. You can see that it is gray outside and white on the inside. Only the white part will show when I export, so you don't have to worry about getting things off of the artboard.
Yes.
But I'm going to make a shape here. So we're just going to use the rectangle tool, and I'm going to select the rectangle tool, and then when I click and drag, you'll actually be able to see down over here. I'm actually going to move the layers. I know that it says layers down here, but my face is in the way, so I'm going to move the layers. So if I go here and I am going to just make a shape. So I'm going to grab the rectangle tool and we're going to drag it out. You'll see here that we now have a rectangle, so it has made a new layer. And Photoshop works in layers. Think about it as scrapbooking, that you're putting different pieces of paper down, you're adding different objects. That's what a layer is, and you can select each one to be able to augment that layer. Now, Nick talked about the fill and the stroke. We talked about it over here, but we just saw something change up here. So when we have this layer selected, we have our tool options. Ooh, tool options. And that's everything up here. So see this little bar up here? That is showing us all of our different options, and it will change depending on what we are selecting. Right?
Yeah.
So if I go to a type layer, it's going to change the type. If I select some of these tool options, it's going to change as we go. But right here, if we have this selected, we also have the contextual toolbar.
Always your best friend. Look at that. And it knows exactly what you want.
Yes. What is the contextual toolbar?
It is kind of your floating little control bar that is there to help you. It's usually like the 3 or 4 things you probably want to do is your next step, right? When something's selected.
Yep, absolutely. So we have the stroke and the fill here. So the fill, we can click, and that is going to change the inside color. And the stroke right here, maybe we want to do green. That is going to change the stroke around the object, right? We also could round the corners if we wanted to. We could change it to a dotted line. There are all kinds of options for you in the contextual toolbar as you have something selected. Now,
and note everything's still on the same layer, even though he's made all these changes, it's still there.
Yep, all on the same layer. And I actually like to work with auto selecting your layer. So this is the move tool. This is what you're going to use the most. This hotkey is V. And auto select layer. I like to use it so that I can hover over and it'll give me that little blue box.
Yes.
And that way I can just click and drag things around as I need to.
And these are on
not
different
have
layers,
to really
so that's
worry
the
about.
cool
Yeah, they're
part.
all different layers, and it will automatically select that layer for you so that you can start moving it around.
So when that is off, basically you can only select things in the layer that is selected, correct?
Yep, totally. So if I'm trying to select this box,
great tip. Yeah,
it only is selecting that layer because I have that layer selected over here.
Gotcha.
All right, so let's keep going here and let's talk more about what Photoshop is. Let me turn that back on. Okay, so, oops, deleted too much. All right, so Photoshop has all the tools, fill and stroke. We have our layers over here, and layers are just different ways that we can work. We can also rearrange these layers. If you're familiar with working with Adobe Express, you can move those layers up and down, and it will just basically change what's on top. And we also have a color. We have our swatches, gradients, patterns all up here in the corner. And again, I'm using the Workspace Essentials right here.
Those are so great to have because it's like you will find they set these up for you to for success based on what you're actually working on, right?
Yep, 100%.
Tools and control panels all based on what you selected.
Yep. And somebody's saying that they had some trouble with the betas. It's a beta. Sometimes the beta has some issues. So if it has issues, that's great. You can download the regular version of Photoshop. You can do it right here in the Creative Cloud app. Just go to all apps and then do Photoshop right here. I like working in the beta. It has been trustworthy for me so far. So if it works
and you're
for you,
helping the team.
Yeah, exactly. You can use the beta.
Yeah.
Yep. And right here up in the top right, if there is an issue, I can click right here on this little lab and it will give me things to review, submit an idea, report a bug. So if you have something happen, you can go and report a bug.
Go.
All you need to do is click on this little thing right there. All right. Let's hop in and let's talk about some tools that we can use in real time here. So Nick, you are kind of a newbie to Photoshop. What would you use Photoshop to?
Newbie. I've just never had enough work to be the pro at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
so
use
Nick's
it.
never opened Photoshop.
It's my supplementary app. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, cool. So Nick's
you know how it is. You're either Photoshop or you're Illustrator.
Charcoal and pencil.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so Nick, what would you use Photoshop for in a project? So we talked with Illustrator that is vector based. You can scale things up for really large sizes. Photoshop is pixel based, which means it's pixels. Can you show us a little bit about like setting up a new document, kind of what we would do to get started in Photoshop and what we would be using Photoshop for?
Yeah, I would use it. I'm particularly using it for placed illustration, photography, special effects, things that need more of a painterly kind of fusion. I think that's the best way I like to say it. Whereas in Illustrator, and gosh, with the newest tools in Illustrator, it is kind of blurring the line of what you can use it for. But when I have an illustration or something that's being placed within my Illustrator file, I'm going to go right into Photoshop and either get it from someone and then manipulate or start from scratch and do it. And I think that's one of the biggest things to consider is if you are like me and an Illustrator user, Photoshop has to have the specifics of the file at the very beginning, meaning DPI and what you're using. So if you come over to my screen, what I'm going to do first is kind of do the Command N and get the new document one here. It's so similar to everything we are used to on Illustrator as well. We have basically our units. We could use our width and height. We have our resolution. 300 is kind of industry standard unless you are being told you need something lower, which would be around 72. Sometimes if it's a higher, some people have things in 600 DPI. This is all about dots and points per inch for clarity. So can you take something that's a 300 DPI, 2-inch by 3-inch, and now make it a billboard if it was a Photoshop file? You can't, right? That's kind of the one thing. You have to make it specific for the document. So for someone like me who is a beginner with it, I always make sure it is the exact size of where I'm placing it. So let's say I know this is going to be an 8-inch by 5-inch and it's 300 DPI, and I know this is going to be screen-based, I'll keep it RGB. But 90% of what I do is print. So I'm going to do the CMYK at the very beginning. The biggest difference here is what inks are being used to create your final piece. So if you do something in RGB and it looks really cool and vibrant because you got some really cool neon green in there, chances are that gets sent to somebody and they print it, it's not going to have the reality of that color.
Yep.
So always keep it in the area you know they're going to want it to be. So I'll just make it the CMYK and we'll hit a create here. And here we go. We have our beautiful new illustration artboard blank, ready to go.
Yep. So that's how you get started. And Nick, when you got started, this is very different from Illustrator. It is pixel based, which means that it is made up of a bunch of tiny little squares. So chat, we're going to play a game, and this game is called What Are Those Squares? So chat, we want you to guess. Yeah, we want you to guess right here, what are these squares? So these are pixels. And Nick, can you talk to us a little bit about pixels? What are pixels? In chat, while we do that, I'm putting you on the screen. Give your guesses to what are those squares. Nick, what's a pixel? Idea. Can you describe to us how pixels per inch works? All that stuff.
Yeah, so imagine pixels as being a mosaic, basically solid colored tiles next to each other. And what's great about these is the eye, when they see it at a certain scale, will blur everything and merge and blend it all. So it is a beautiful continuous tone picture. But it has to be of high quality and it has to be of a good DPI. He's zoomed in here, and this is where you can see every square is actually a solid color. There is no gradient within each pixel. What happens is, as they are together and they form a continuous thing, if he starts to zoom out a little bit, you're going to see that this is becoming something. Did this at all what this is?
We have a donut is the only guess so far, chat. We need your guesses. What are these squares?
I see it as, it looks like it could be like wrinkled, like fabric. It looks like something like that.
Yep. Someone's saying shower tiles.
Skin.
Good guess. A donut, a pixel grid. Yes, it is indeed a pixel grid. That is true.
Thank you. We are done with our lesson today.
Yes. It looks like
Can you zoom out one level?
Oh, yes. Okay. Follow me here. To me, this could be a bowl of oatmeal, right? Like here's the bowl over here, and then this is oatmeal. And I think that we have a winner. Stony has called it. This is indeed hair. We did it.
There you go.
Great job, Stony.
Strands. You can see those bands of the different color tones in that, even when it was close up.
Yep. So this is a photo in Photoshop, and this is usually where we would use Photoshop is to edit photos. There's a bunch of different things that we can do in Photoshop, and I want to talk about selections a little bit. So selecting things, there's a bunch of different ways to select things and mask things. And Photoshop's really made to isolate different pieces of your photo. So Stony, we'll give you some points. Please remind me. I'll add you to the leaderboard. And chat, we do keep a leaderboard. Chat, I'm going to push a bunch of buttons right now, and maybe one of these is going to have a leaderboard on it. Let's see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, good luck. Okay, so no, not that one. Not that one. There it is. Here's our current leaderboard. I'm at -1. Nick has 11. Wade has 5. And Layla has 10. So Stony, we're going to give you 5 for that. Congratulations. I'll add those points a little bit later today. All right.
5's good. He doesn't give out 5 like that often. So
five's a good one. So let's talk about selections. So selections there's a bunch of different ways to select. And the first is just the marquee tool. And these are called marching ants. So let's say that we want to move this woman in the photo. I can select her here using the rectangle tool. And then I'm going to use the move tool up here to try to just move it. So if I click and drag, you can see I moved her.
It's a puzzle piece.
But it's taken out this backdrop. And what's happening here is it's just filling in the backdrop. So we don't want to do that necessarily. We want to try to select just the person. And so we can move down here, and there's a bunch of different selection tools. We can use maybe the lasso tool. So let's try this. So lasso tool.
Free flow draw.
Yeah, free flow drawing. And I can kind of just draw around a little bit. And then there we go. Boom. Got a little bit closer. And now let's try to move it. Still not great. So this is where we run into some issues, is we need to make sure that we can very particularly select things in our photo. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to work in a non-destructive workflow. And Nick, throw to Nick, close up on Nick. What's a non-destructive workflow?
It means you're not actually changing the source. You have made a duplicate in some way on another layer, and you are applying the changes there.
Yep.
Never do you want to do that, because God forbid some changes and you can't go backwards, or you saved it and the history's gone. Forget about it.
Yep, you always want to have a copy of what you're working on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this layer over here, and I'm going to right click and then do duplicate layer. And now I'll have 2 copies of that. We're just going to do copy right there. Now I have 2 copies of that so that I can mess around and I still have the original, and I'm not like scared of losing anything. So what I want to do is I want to select this woman, and I actually want to remove her from the photo. This is going to get a little bit into Adobe Firefly, but I want to show you this workflow because it's a good kind of beginner's workflow to get you started. I
almost feel like that's so elementary now too in there. It's not a big step taking it in there.
Yep. So what we can do is we can use the selection brush. If we wanted to, we could come in here and use the selection brush. We don't want to do that right now. We can hover over it, and maybe we want to do the object selection tool. So as you go down here, the top 3 are selection tools. Those are top 4 technically are selection tools.
Those are going to
help
you.
You,
the manual kind.
Yep.
Right?
Select different things in the photo. So I'm using the object selection tool right here, and it is going to analyze our photo and find all the different objects. So check this out. We have each of the individual pieces. Backpack, we've got the hand. So all these individual pieces have come over here. And this is why it's important to understand what the different tools do in Photoshop, because I want to do the same workflow that I just did with the lasso tool. Yeah. And we're just going to go over here really wide, kind of play around and select the general area of this woman. Now, when I let go, it's going to analyze what objects are within that space that you just selected. And you can see there, it did a pretty good job, but I need to add to the selection. I need to make sure I have the backpack here. And Nick, how do I add to a selection?
That would be the shift key.
Shift key. So if you're ever trying to add something to a selection, you can hold the shift key. If you're trying to subtract, you can hold the alt or option key to subtract. So I'm going to hold shift and then just drag around this backpack to make sure that I have the backpack selected as well. Get in there.
And it's like the backpack comes in 4 parts,
right? It's like so I'm just going to use the lasso tool there to just make sure that that all gets
and those
selected.
marching ants are telling you what is included and what's not.
Yep.
So
100%.
It looks like you got everything.
Looks like I got everything. So I do want to make a copy of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and we're going to go to layer via copy. So now we have a copy. And if I turn off these layers using the little eye right here, you'll see we have the copy of the lady. So what I want to do is I now want to remove the lady. So I'm going to use the move tool here. And you can see that we have her and we can kind of move her around as we want. And I want her in the center of the photo. So I'm going to move this selection into the center of the photo using the move tool. So I have the layer selected using the move tool and just clicking and dragging, holding shift to keep that nice and level. I might want to move it down a little bit too to make it look like it's a little bit brighter or bigger maybe in the forest. Yeah. So what I can do is I'm going to turn off this selection right here. Okay. And then I am going to select her again, really like widely and loosely using the lasso tool. And then we're going to use Generative Fill. And Nick, what is Generative Fill and what does it do?
Generative Fill is basically you give it a specific area or context. And basically what you could do is either remove, you can add, all based on text and your whatever your heart desires, basically, right? It's kind of, it has made me, who is a beginner, quite, I'm such a fan now of using this stuff.
Yep. So we have a selection over and around her, and we're going to go up here to the contextual toolbar, and we are going to click on Generative Fill with this area selected.
Yes.
And Nick, number one thing that I see on social media, that I see on TikTok, that I see people doing is typing in what you want it to do. That's not how Generative Fill works.
Especially in this, are you just trying to remove her?
Yep. It's understanding what you're trying to do. So if I type in here,
don't even write anything.
Remove woman from the picture. So I've seen a lot of people do this. They're trying to instruct Generative Fill like, hey, do this thing for me. And that's not how it works. And I want to show you kind of how, like, it's going to do something weird here because it's basically it knows whether you're trying to remove something or add something, and it's just trying to incorporate the prompt that you give it into the photo. So it's trying to incorporate the words remove woman in photo. It's probably gonna give us, oh, it just removed. Okay, well, thanks a lot.
I had a feeling I think that was a very cut and dry image too, right?
Yep.
Sometimes with a little complexity, when you put in words, it doesn't work. Like, what would have been the better thing to do in your opinion?
Best way to do that is just to select the area, go to generative fill, and then just hit generate.
There you go.
And here you don't need to put anything. You can just put generate, and it will automatically figure out what needs to be in these pixels that are selected. So don't put anything in the prompt because you can get really weird results if you try to instruct it to do something. You can put nothing there and it's going to remove her. Now, there are a bunch of different tools to be able to remove her, but generative fill, just leaving it blank, is usually the best way to do that.
Admire that for a second. I mean, look, and then you've got 3 options, which is wonderful. I think, like, to me, all 3 work, but there's that one, I think it was the first one, feels like it shows off more of, I love that with those like thinner trees in the back. It kind of knows how to read depth and how it needs to read, like, should it be blurry? It's amazing what the AI does here.
It's rad. Great. So I can also turn back on that layer of the woman and you can actually see they're overlapping. And Nick, this is a great example of layers. What's happening here? Why does this look so weird?
Well, layers are in some kind of an order. So basically right now, this duplicate of her has gone behind the layer that has applied the generative fill, where it made all that fun new background.
Yep. 100%. So we can click.
That's actually pretty cool.
And
it's
drag.
Coming out of
some portal.
Yeah.
We can click and drag this, and that is going to reorder our layer. So now we have the woman isolated to where we can click and drag her wherever she needs to go. And we want her in the center right there. And you can see the before and after right here. There's the before. And then we used our selection tools to move her over here with generative fill. And Nick, we have this little like black and white thumbnail next to our layer. What is that? What is the little black and white piece right here?
That is a mask.
Yes, and what does a mask do?
That means there's still other, call it data for that image. You haven't lost everything. All it's doing is it's masking, and it's a perfect icon to show you that you're just seeing the window that has been created by the marching ants that were done at the very beginning. So that's exactly what it is. The other content is still there. It's not just solo on a layer by itself.
Yep, 100%. So here is like, if this is just a fully, this is just a blue overlay, aqua, teal? What color is this?
Yeah,
teal. Is I can add a mask to it right here by clicking on layer masks. That's a little like circle. And that is going to add a white box right next to it. So here is, we can brush things on, and brushing on black is going to make it so that it shows through, and white is making it so that it is opaque. Opaque, and what's the other one?
Transparent.
Transparent.
Right?
Yes, I think there's
that what you were going for?
There's another word.
Translucent? No.
Opaque and...
Opaque and...
Chat, help us. What's the opposite of opaque? But I can use the brush tool. And the brush tool is right here. It's just B. And the brush tool is going to allow me to just brush in a different area. So we're going to go to black as our fill color and then start brushing. And you can see now we're making a window using this mask.
Showing right there in the clipping square. Look at
that. Pretty cool. So there also are different ways. We can right click and then change the size of the brush. Also the hardness of the brush. Nick, what's the hardness of the brush?
That means your detail around the edge. Is it a soft feather or is it crisp and clean? And you can choose anything in between.
Yep. So we can make it very soft. And we also can right click here and then go through some of these brushes. So there are some different brushes here. We've got maybe a chunky charcoal. Nice. And as you click through that, we can see as we zoom in here. Oops.
And what's nice is look at the brush the detail before he even applies the brush.
Yep.
It shows you a little preview of the sample.
Yep. And brush. So drawing with the brush tool, you can go in and you can use all those brushes. Just right click when you have the brush tool selected. And then you can, when you have the brush tool selected, there you go. And you can see all of the different brushes that are available to you, special effects brushes, anything that you have. And you'll probably just have the general brushes here to start, but it's a good place to start. You can have a lot of fun playing around with that. And so Elizabeth is saying you both were correct.
What's that?
Elizabeth said you both were correct, and we very rarely are both correct. I don't know what we're correct about, but we'll take it.
You know what? It's so weird, though. did think there was another word that went strictly when you say opaque and something, but we use transparent so much in the apps. Maybe we thought it was a little bit too common.
Yeah,
Look at that.
yeah, I think that there is. I don't know. I'll look it up. All right, so let's talk about great suggestion here. Trey is saying, as an alternative idea, could you have used generative fill to expand the image to then have the woman in the center? Yes, you can. So this is a great use case that I can show you right here from Adobe Stock. And Nick, do you want to show a little bit of generative expand?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and hop to Nick's screen. Nick, you got like some people on the beach here. This looks like maybe Huntington.
Does this look like this is exactly where we're going? This idea of like getting something from either the photographer or something, and let's say your layout needs something much wider. I used this for a recent billboard ad, and what I wanted was more space on the left there. And so all you have to do really, which is pretty neat, is you just go to the crop tool and you'll see you get the highlight shown here. The bar here wherever you need additional space. And if you need it by a certain, area, you can obviously do that as well. So right now this is going to about, we're almost at the 30-inch right there. Let's see what happens. Now, just like Andrew said, do not write anything. If all you want is this to continue and give you this entire like sand, beach, mountain range to continue, you're just going to hit generate. And as it goes through, it's going to figure out everything here as far as lighting, the geography, how it looks, kind of the perspective. Look at that. That's like unbelievable. Look how it tapered the mountainside. And again, we have our 3 versions. You can see just slight differences here. I love that first one. Looks unbelievable and ready to go. So that's how you would do that for any need to now again. And let's say the client's like, oh, we need a ton of space up above. Let's just do that as well. We'll hit generate. And again, simple stuff. You're going to be able to get that cloud kind of pattern, continuate all the way through and look fantastic. So give it a second. It's running through the process. Look at that. Unbelievable. We have just turned that into about double the size in 2 clicks.
Magic. And I do have another example of that. But Nick, we have a office hours red alert that is question in the chat.
Yeah.
Question in the chat. And this one's coming from over on YouTube. Somebody is asking, it might be a little too specific, but this is from Math. Don't know if this is too advanced, but could you explain how gloss contour curves work? Yes, I can. Love it when you try to stump us because we are obviously all-knowing and have an infinite knowledge of.
Are we talking about filters? What area are we in this thing?
We are talking about filters. So if you were just learning, right? I know it says back to school under us. That should definitely say not.
Well, that is for me. Today is back to school.
Everybody, today's Nick's first day back to school.
Yay!
Everybody wish he's going to take a little picture with a little sign.
You'll see it. I'll show all my students.
Yes.
So who do we have this semester? I can't wait.
Wish him a happy first day of school, and Nick, make sure that they watch Office Hours. All right, so let's go ahead. Get those numbers up. Sweeps are coming. It's sweeps week. Okay, so somebody's asking about gloss contours. Here we go. Let's show you how to do it. So we are going to be using some filters here, and specifically, we are going to go over to this text layer. We haven't talked about it, but you can use the type tool right here. Using T is the type tool. I'm going to delete this, chat. What is happening? Okay.
Here we go.
I'm going to use the type tool, and the type tool is where you can just create text in Photoshop. So I'm going to click on the type tool, and I am going to type out which is what our office hours is. And then I'm going to transform that. And to transform something, as you can see, we can just drag it around. But if we want to transform, you can hit Control or Command T to transform. And then we're going to click and drag, but this time we're going to hold Alt or Option. And by default, it is going to scale proportionally. But if you want to make it wonky, you can hold Shift, and that is going to make it really weird. Or you can hold Alt or Option, and that's going to scale it from the center. So
Question for you real quick.
Yes.
Is there a way in Photoshop now to swap that in case you wanted to match the way it does on Illustrator? Because you know how it's different. Shift is the constraint. and no shift is open, free, distort.
Yes, if you ever have a issue or need to change something, you can hit Control or Command K, and that is going to bring up your settings.
Nice.
Back over here. There we go.
There it is.
So it's going to change your settings here, and that one is going to be use legacy free transform.
There it is.
So use legacy free transform. We're going to hit OK. And now when I hit Command T, it is going to allow me to squash and move things around.
Doesn't it make sense that in Photoshop, they give you much more with distort and perspective and a lot of those in free transform. But I think in 90% of the cases, you want to keep the constraint. So I love the way they gave you that almost reverse legacy, and it works without having to hold anything down.
Yep.
That's cool.
And somebody asked about gloss contour. Here's what we can do. We can right click. And then we can go to blending options. This is a little more advanced. If you're a beginner, like fast forward by like a minute and a half. So somebody is asking about the contour. So I'm going to go to bevel and emboss right here.
Love that.
And you can see that it has this nice little bevel and emboss. And we're just going to zoom in on the O actually. I'm going to move it kind of over here so we have a little bit of room. So we're going to right click. We're going to go to blending options. And from here, we are going to go to that bevel and emboss. So you see here that it is beveled. And think about this as a stone that we are carving into, right?
Yeah.
And so at the top of that point of the stone, Nick, when we are carving it, we right now are just having a point, right? So the gloss contour is basically showing what is at the top of the bevel that you are creating. I know that's a little hard to understand, but what are we trying to bevel and taper to? And right now it is just a point, right? So if we click here, we can do a bunch of different options. So I'm going to do this double point just so you can see.
Oh, no.
And that is giving us that double point, right? So it's giving us basically
an double highlight.
Yes, cool. Up, down, double highlight.
Yeah.
So if we do a curve here, it's going to be a little bit more bubbly on that highlight. And then if we could play around with these curves, so it's going to give us, this is a little more of a roughened one. So we'll actually get a little bit more of a rough edge. But as you play around with these, it's basically just showing you the gradient that it's putting on it to do that contour. It's changing the lighting, but also it is like how you are going to be like carving that. So you can see here that we are carving to the up, then we're carving down, and then we're carving back up. And that is up, down, up. So you can see there that it is just basically how you are carving that different object.
The bevel and emboss section is quite cool to explore.
Yes.
Particularly on type effects and things like that. Question, why is the W one getting like swirl or curly and the O isn't? Is that something unique to the filter?
For the H?
The H is doing this, right? The H has got a curve path.
Yes.
The highlight.
So basically, the O is doing that, but it's bending it. So this is just showing you what it would be on like a straight line. So you can see there that we are carving to an up, down, up, which is what's happening right here. So up, down, up, down. You can see it really well right here. But then we're taking this and basically bending it around a circle. And so this is the same, but it is just bent and 3D rendered around a circle.
There we go.
There we go. So that's what it is. It's basically just what you are carving to, and hopefully that covered your question. Thank you so much, Math, for adding that question in there.
Such a good one. That's a cool little area to explore. All the filters are fantastic. The bevel, drop shadow. You got so many cool things in that type layer style. It's awesome.
All right. For those of you that skip forward a minute and a half, shame on you. Hi, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for watching the replay. Make sure you tune in live at 9 a.m. every Monday. So, Nick, you use Generative Fill. You use Generative Extend. Generative Extend. There is a better way to use Generative Extend. And let's say that you have a photo here that is just a little off kilter. And you want
what could that be?
You want to
first thing comes to mind,
right? You want to fix that photo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the crop tool, and the crop tool is really great for cropping your photos, creating like a unique look. And here I'm going to just do the original ratio. And then I want to use the straighten tool. And the straighten tool is right here. It's like a little level. And with this, we can crop this in, we can crop this out. You can really play around with what you want by just dragging in these little nodes on the side, or these little handles. But we're going to go here to straighten. And then we're going to click and drag across the angle that we want it straightened to. So I think that looks pretty good at where we want this to be straightened. It looks like a 5.6 degree. So we're going to let go. And we want to make sure that fill right here is generative expand. So if this is set to generative expand, or we can just hit generative expand right here, but we are going to hit done, or we're going to hit this little check mark right here. And then as I zoom out, we'll see that it is going to fix this photo for me, and it's going to add in those edges. So if you ever need to straighten a photo, you don't ever have to crop in. You don't have
it's
to
a great
lose.
Combo.
Yes.
This
is my favorite combo.
Why not? So you never get those little slivers at the end.
Yep, exactly. And we even could generative extend out to the side a little bit to center it. But you can see here, that is what the original photo is that it was kind of like weird and tilty. And now we have a nice non-leaning tower of Pisa right there. Pretty cool, right?
So good.
Now,
that's awesome.
There's another thing we can use Photoshop for, and that is lighting. So this is not great lighting. And we can add some adjustments. And this is really what Photoshop is a lot of adjustments to your photos. And the best way to do this, there are a million ways to do this. My favorite way is just come over here to adjustment layers. And this is going to be right there, this little like circle with a half filled in. And we are going to start adding different adjustments. You can see here we have solid color, gradient, brightness, contrast, levels, curves, all that stuff. So here, exposure. We definitely need to change the exposure. So let's go ahead and click on exposure. And that is going to add...
doing it to a layer on this actual layer, right? Like it's not destructive.
Yes. So it's adding a layer on top of it. It's augmenting the photo under it. Think of it. Think about it as adding like light to it or shining a flashlight on it. It's not changing the actual photo, but it's adding something to it. So from there, we can grab this little slider and we can just up the exposure. And there we go. We got a little bit of a brighter photo, but there are some things that are a little bit too hot. It got a little bit too bright. And so what we can do is we can combine some of the techniques that we've learned, right? So I just want the sky to be not as bright. I want the sky to be kind of what it was. So Nick, what tools can we use to change the sky and not the tower, to leave the tower bright and then bring the sky back to where it was?
Ooh, I'm assuming we can go to, can't we go to the background? What's the new feature?
Oh, we could.
Isn't there for backgrounds and skies and stuff like that?
We could do that.
Isn't there? Or was that Lightroom?
No, we could definitely remove the background 100%.
Oh, I know that, but wasn't there a new feature that can actually apply only to backgrounds?
We also could select the sky. Let me find where that is. Nick, you threw me off a little bit because I do know that
but what was your first? Were you just going to kind of isolate it on its own layer?
Yeah, I'm going to mask it. But
there you go.
I think we can use the find object selection tool, and then I think that there is a.
Let's see. I'll look around and see where I thought. Oh, was it in filter?
There is a way to select the sky. Chat, let me know where that is. Select sky. There it is. So up here in the menu, we can go to select, and I'm going to come back down to my photo layer because I want to make sure I'm on the right layer. We can go to select, and then we can tick sky, and it should find that entire sky for me. And I do think this is one of the ones that is like much more advanced. Yeah.
Ah, there it goes.
It even got like the detail of like little pieces in there.
Come on.
Which is pretty nice. So
these are great little advancements for all of us.
Right. We selected the sky, and I'm just going to grab the rest of the photo, and we can add into this. Actually, let's not. So what I'm going to do is I am with this selected. You can see that it's marching ants, and we can go to the lasso tool right here. And with the lasso tool, you can hover over, and Nick, there are two different versions of the lasso tool right now. If I grab the lasso tool, if I hover over this area, we see the lasso tool, right? You're just seeing the little lasso. And if I hover over this area, it's changing to a white little arrow. What's the difference between the two? Why is it changing?
One area you're in the selection and one you're out of the selection.
Yes. So right now where it shows the lasso means that it's not selected. Yeah. If I'm in the sky, you can see I'm hovering over it. It is selected. So that's the difference between those. And with that selected, I can come up to this little white area, and we're going to use the masking that we just learned about to change. Oops, I just hit a hotkey that I don't know what it did. We're going to use.
That's always a good thing when nothing changes. You're like, didn't really affect it.
Yeah. We're going to use a tool that we just learned about, the masking. We're going to have a selection. We're going to grab our brush right here. We're going to right click and just grab a regular soft round brush, make it fairly large. Sure. And then make sure that black is selected. And what that's going to do is it's going to take away this exposure layer that we have. And as I click, you can see it's easily taking away that brightness that was a little bit too much on the sky.
Only on the sky too.
Only on the sky.
Look at that.
area.
You've changed like the whole timing of that. It now feels like it's almost like 7, 8 o'clock at night. Look at that.
Yep. So it already changed
nice
the lighting and just brought up the exposure on the tower, which is what we wanted to do. Boom.
That's great. Look
Magic.
At that. Such good control.
Robert has a really good. We're not going to show that yet, Robert. Well, I'll show it. All right. So what we can do here, chat, is we can actually use the sky replacement tool.
That's what it was.
Yeah, we haven't used this, but it is. So you can have your photo right here, and then we're going to go to edit, and we are going to go to. I'm going to change. Okay, we're going to go to edit, and then we are going to go to sky replacement. Where is it?
There it was. Keep going down after transform. Keep going.
There we go. Sky replacement. Okay. So what's cool is it is going to analyze this, and then it is going to replace the sky for us. It's so crazy. There we go.
Bonkers.
New sky. Yeah. Done.
Totally good.
So really cool. You can actually choose different skies. So we can do blue skies. Maybe we want it to be more during the day. We can click here on blue skies, and it's going to add in a blue sky for us.
What a crazy feature. Look
right? Spectacular. Maybe we want a nice, crazy sunset.
Oh my gosh.
It's
not doing much to anything else, only to the background, right? It's not changing lighting on the remainder of the image, is it?
Yes. No, it is only changing the background. And we also have that mask on there still that's still making it a little bit darker and changing our lighting to make the
What's interesting is it doesn't look so foreign to each one. Like most of them do feel like it's a natural. That's a weird. Looks like spiders. There you go. Look at that. Wow.
Pretty cool. So yes, sky replacement tool if you need to replace the sky.
Movie poster.
Really great to select it and then just edit and sky replace. Great. Okay, so, cool. So let's hop over, and Nick, you have some image here, and let's actually go back to your beach one. Let's go back to the beach image that you have, and let's say that we need to add some stuff in there. There's a great new tool that we can use that is Generative Fill. Can you talk to us about Generative Fill, what it is, and maybe show us how we can use it?
Yeah. So we've given ourselves plenty of space now to add a few things here as well. So I'm going to go over to the lasso tool. I think this is the easiest one. I'm going to do kind of a nice little kind of like in my best perspective that I can, just a little square like that. And guess what I'm adding? What do you think? What do you think?
This would be a beach blanket.
Yes. So we're typing it in.
This towel. A beach blanket? What? Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. But a beach blanket's bigger. Towel's like just solo, right? Okay. Here's where typing in the specific. Now, you don't want to say add beach blanket, right? You just want to write exactly as simple as possible beach blanket, correct?
Yes.
That's probably your best bet. So we're hitting generate. Let's see what happens here. We are going to see.
Never add a verb into any Adobe Firefly product. Verbs don't do anything.
All right. So look at that. We are almost ready. We are getting the progress bar ready. Look at this. Let's go and see what else we have. Well, which one? Oh, that works.
I like the yellow one.
The stripes look good, right? Yep. That's pretty cool. And then I think we need like an ice chest or something. So I'm just going to draw right around here. Maybe now, how specific do you get? Like I always try to like think of the overall outline just to fill the shape a little bit, but we'll give it a shot. So I'm going to put ice chest
depending on the size of the selection. So when you're using that lasso tool to make your selection, if you make it really large, it's going to make a really large object. If you make it small, it's going to make a really small, tiny little chest.
Like consider the scale you're in and try to draw it based on the people you have. What is that as well? Let's see. It looks like it made a chest out of ice.
Is it literally an ice chest? That's funny.
Yeah, I believe so. So maybe we put I got it. Let's do a boombox.
Oh yeah, let's do a boombox.
Let's do a boombox.
Up the jam. Pump it up.
While your feet are jumping. Let's see what we get. All right, we are adding it. But look at the shadowing. Look at the placement of it on the sand. Oh my gosh, what is that? Look at, oh, there's a nice one. Look at that.
Up the jam.
Right out of the 90s. I love it. If you want, you can actually hit the Command T. You can see that's where you're getting, that's what's showing you what kind of alterations it made to it as well, which is awesome. So again, you have a few things here as well. And we'll do one last one. Why not put a nice big umbrella? I'm just kidding. So trying to draw
Killed it.
As possible.
Killed it.
Let's see. Look at that, guys. Umbrella. There we go. So this is good too if you need the things that are quick on the fly. And again, I love these little tricks because to me, sometimes I feel like Photoshop was always intimidating, not knowing a lot of the tricks. Look at that. Not too shabby. Very good. And to me, this is a quick way. I'll go back and maybe finesse and try to do my best to do this a little bit better. But to give the client maybe sometimes a quick reference, this is awesome.
Yep. And can you zoom in on the edge of the umbrella? I just want to address that it caught the sun ray on it. Like, yeah, that's really, really cool
right
to see.
There.
And it does reflections really well. It does lighting really well. It can really assess what's happening. And then
look at that. It sees this bright hit and it gets it right in here, which was pretty good. I love that. So nice to see. So, all right, so great little tips.
I'm going to show you one more thing, and that is selective color. So let's say that we only want this green to be showing through. So if we wanted to, we can use adjustment brushes, or sorry, we can use adjustment layers right here to just play around with different things. So we can do hue and saturation. That's going to change the intensity of the colors. So I can add hue and saturation, and then if I just drag the saturation all the way down, boom, black and white. Love it. Gorgeous.
Look at that.
We want to have maybe some of these colors stay. So what we can do is we can change the saturation of specific colors, right? So maybe we want the grass to be black and white. Is we can go to our global colors and we're going to click on greens and then pull that all the way down, saturation all the way down. We're also going to do maybe yellows, pull those all the way down. There we go. And now you can see we're starting to pull out those colors individually. So maybe we just want the blues here. And let's do the blues, really pump up the blues, and let's pump up the magentas as well. Yeah, and then the cyans. Ooh, bright sky. And then maybe the reds, not so much. We want to pull those all the way down. So now we just have the blue in our photo. So you can really adjust, change coloring, and play around with that. And maybe those purples are a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull the magentas.
Looking cool.
Back down. And you even can shift the color if you wanted to. I think it might be the red. Is it the reds? What is pulling that in?
It could. That's definitely on the violet side. Like it's there. Oh, little. Maybe it's just too. Oh, there you go.
Yes. So you can play around with that and adjust there using those adjustment layers. And you can always just scroll through and play around with these and see what works for you. How can you change and edit your photos using these pieces and using your selection tools? And that really is kind of a basics of how to use Photoshop. So Nick,
what do you think I was gonna ask you, what's the best advice you'd give anybody who's to really mess around and play?
Click on everything. Just click on everything and start clicking on your photo and see what happens. There's really not a bad way to do it. You'll be using the brush tool a lot. You'll be using selection tools a lot.
Ooh.
So
you made me think of something. Do you work with the history on so you can actually go back and see all your steps?
No,
you don't do history on there?
No, but you can. If you want to see,
it's always there.
Yeah, if you want to see where you work, you can go to Window and then click on History, and that's going to show you all of the things that you've done to this. So you can kind of go back if you need to, or you can see what you did to make something work. If you're clicking around, you're learning, and something works really well, you can understand what you did by just clicking on one of those, which is really cool. That's really cool. We have more office hours coming up next week. Make sure to join our Discord, discord.gg/ACC. If you have somebody who wants to learn Photoshop, share this stream with them. You can use that share button right underneath us somewhere. I think there's a share button. There is a share button.
Always there.
Oh, it's actually right under me. It's like over here if you're on Behance. If it's on YouTube, it might be more over here. I don't know.
Or top left. I can't remember.
Yeah, over. Yeah. So just do it. Yeah. All right. So join us next week. We are here 9 a.m. every Monday. And stick around. There is another show coming up right after this, and it is Ask a Designer with Phil and Izzy. they'll be showing you how to work with real world clients in Adobe Express, as well as maybe a little bit of Illustrator. So learn Adobe Express. It's super easy, super fun, great for working with clients, and stick around just 5 minutes. That show is coming up right here on Adobe Live, and more great content coming to you all week right here on Adobe Live. Bye, everybody.
See you guys.
I think it already has that sound effect, but I'm gonna leave it. Bye, everybody.